Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in The Spirit of Hope by Jürgen Moltmann. We have concluded all of part 1. The first 100 pages of the book have been concluded. We're going to take a look at a summary recap of part 1, which is the complete phenomenology of Hupostasis for Jürgen Moltmann. So take a look at the chart, and it is broken into 3 parts, and it is Moltmann's phenomenology of Hupostasis, primarily given to us in chapters 2 and 5, but it really is all of part 1, but especially chapter 2 and chapter 5. Block 1, man as Hupostasis. Hupostasis equals, translated, essence of existence. Man is the microcosm in which all things of life are integrated. Man names the essence of things. He posits the reality of things. Man is the caring gardener of creation, thereby negating any mechanistic view of creation. We take up a cosmic humility for this role that God has entrusted toward us. We thereby share in nature's hope for life. There are 4 axioms that make up the foundation of Moltmann's phenomenology. They come from chapter 5. 1. Through our perception, nature acquires perception of itself. 2. Creation is an open system of signs. 3. God is the perichoresis, or the whole reality around creation. All of creation is inside God. 4. Exodus time is a movement from dunamis potentiality to energia actuality. It is the movement of spirit. We are involved in positing and working toward and identifying the essence of existence, the kingdom of God. Therefore, we posit Hupostasis, essence of existence. Block 2. We then go out of ourselves in participation in God's Trinitarian history. The world is interpenetrated by God. The Father is the preceding cause. The Son is the efficacious cause. The Spirit is the perfecting cause. We participate in the perfecting work of the Spirit. The world is participated in as subject, not as an object. We recognize the world as a dunamis potentiality moving toward an energia actuality. We recognize the world as the movement of spirit. We respect nature's right to Sabbath rest. In chapter 6, the movement from dunamis to energia includes participation in an ethics of reciprocity, reflectively taking up the Sermon on the Mount, practicing an intelligent love of enemies. It's all about going out of ourselves in an ethic of reciprocity. Love one another. So we have our task of positing Hupostasis. We go out of ourselves in an ethic of reciprocity. And now, block 3, the return moment, as the formation of the eschatological theology of hope. Everyone is to write their own theology of hope. Everyone is to discover and write their own theology of hope. In the midst of participation, we take up contemplation in order to create new discovery and return moment. The discovery of God through natural theology becomes an advanced radiance of God's coming glory, causing us to yearn for God and God's revelatory grace. This reasoning preparation prepares us for hearing Christ's word. We return into the self and refine our construction of a revealed theology. From chapter 7, we learn the advanced radiance of God's glory fuels our return moment for the formation of our theology of hope. We do this within small group communities, anticipating the success of Hupostasis and holding our vision for the coming city of God. We have a vision for the coming city of God, and we anticipate the success of our positing of Hupostasis because we see it empowered by the movement of God's Spirit. We anticipate success of Hupostasis. It is Christ-based, Christ-empowered. and eschatologically oriented toward Christ and his history. So the phenomenology that we have here is man as Hupostasis, then man going out of himself in participation in the Trinitarian history of God, and then the return moment where every individual will write their own theology of hope. And I want to go over this one more time, but block 1, note 9, very important, the 4 foundational axioms that make up Moltmann's phenomenology. Through our perception, nature acquires perception of itself. Very important. 2, creation is an open system of signs. 3, God is the perichoresis, the whole reality around creation. And 4, Exodus time is a movement from dunamis, potentiality, to energy, actuality. I think number 1 is the most important. Through our perception, nature acquires perception of itself. And I would say, I would word that even a little bit differently. Through our perception and our positing, nature acquires perception and posited realization of itself. So I would make that perception and positing of the essence of reality, the essence of existence, Hupostasis. But that is by far the most important axiom for Moltmann's phenomenology of Hupostasis. Through our perception, nature acquires perception of itself. Through our posited Hupostasis, nature acquires the realization of Hupostasis for itself. And we see the essence of reality in those open system of signs that we confront through spiritual vision and spiritual hearing. Well, like I said, this is a recap of the first 100 pages of the book. It is Moltmann's phenomenology of Hupostasis. Part 2 is going to look at historical contributions toward his phenomenology, but part 1 gives us, after all these years, we have Moltmann's complete phenomenology of Hupostasis for the very first time in 2019. But it's all about, really, block 1 is all about positing. Our task is to posit Hupostasis. Our task is to perceive and posit the essence of existence, to perceive and posit kingdom of God. That is something we perceive and internalize, but then, block 2, we go out of ourselves and we participate in the objective, historical, Trinitarian history of God and the movement of spirit from dunamis, potentiality, to energy, actuality. We spiritually perceive that movement of spirit. We participate in that Trinitarian historical movement of spirit. And it is Trinitarian. And then, in the midst of participation, the surplus of promise reveals new truth. The surplus of promise unveils the new. And it creates a new re-internalization called return moment. And that is where we return and refine our initial theology of hope. We continue to refine and purify and mature our theology of hope. So return moment is critically important because it's all about anticipating the success of Hupostasis and filtering everything through the vision for the coming city of God, the eschatological city of God. In that way, we re-internalize new aletheia spiritual truth, new imprinting of the heart, new informing of the gnosis wisdom of the mind and the Sophia wisdom of the heart, which will again influence our posited Hupostasis and influence our ethic of reciprocity in going out of ourselves, in participating in God's Trinitarian history. It all becomes a circle. This summary of block 1 is a circle. It's a dialectical circle. It's block 1, block 2, block 3, back to block 1, then block 2, block 3, back to block 1. It is, remember, the eternal is circular, says Moltmann. And this is the circular picture of Moltmann's Phenomenology of Hupostasis. Critically important for understanding the entire book. But as a reminder, here's your recap, but if you wanted to go back and just review at some point 2 chapters, 2 key chapters make up the Phenomenology, Chapter 2 and Chapter 5, because Chapter 5 gives you the 4 foundational axioms. Chapter 2 gives you the basic structure of the Phenomenology, and then 5 further articulates that Phenomenology. Chapter 2 and Chapter 5 make up the structural framework for all of Part 1. And Part 1 is Moltmann's complete Phenomenology of Hupostasis, his complete, for the first time ever. In 2019, we have his complete Phenomenology of Hupostasis. In 1967, we had Moltmann's complete ontology in his Theology of Hope. Now in 2019, we have his complete Phenomenology in the Spirit of Hope. So the bookends, his first book and his last book, become the most significant books that frame a dynamic and powerful ministry from our prophetic teacher, Jürgen Moltmann. Theology of Hope in 1965, Spirit of Hope in 2019. Or I should say Theology of Hope in 1967 in America, and then Spirit of Hope in 2019. That's going to wrap up our recap of Part 1, the first 100 pages of the Spirit of Hope. Our next lesson will begin Chapter 8, the first chapter of Part 2.